G'day. How you going, mate?
Yeah, good. And yourself?
Are you frozen, Luke? Oh, that was weird.
No?
I think my, I might be, no, that's better now. Bit of, technical difficulties, I think, to start that one. All good.
But every show's got
technical
difficulties with us. Yeah, sounds good.
Always. There's this
So
platform, I think.
tonight, do you want to keep going with this platform?
Hang on. I'll cancel it.
You're lagging
do it.
hard.
G'day, everyone. Welcome to Australian Herpetoculture Podcast. How you going, Luke?
Good, mate. How are you?
Good, good. I thought I was going to do it again then. I don't know if you delayed your answer or if you were lagging just a tiny bit, but I thought we were going to have another crappy intro for a second there.
Oh, man. Yeah, technical difficulties straight off the bat.
That's it.
Well, what do you do?
Exactly.
So tonight, guys, that's it. We've been joined by two fellow herpers. We've got Kai Gould, a.k.a. Bilbo Boggins, and we've got Simon Begg, a.k.a. Slippery Simon. We'll probably get to those nicknames later on in the podcast. But, guys, thanks for coming on the show and welcome.
Yeah, thanks.
No worries.
Yeah, all good. Thanks for having us.
More than welcome. So, yeah, if you guys do remember, we've had Kai on before with Michael Payne to talk about Extreme Herping, the YouTube channel. And Simon's new to the podcast, but Simon's a local to myself, and we quite often go out looking for geckos and all sorts. So, yeah, it's good to get you both on the show. And just recently, Simon and Kai and myself got back from a central West New South Wales, would you call it?
Yeah.
Trip over a weekend. Yeah, so we just thought we'd have a bit of a rehash and kind of just catch up and talk about the stories and the lizards and all sorts that we saw along the way. So, guys, do you want to kind of kick it off and just kind of say like how this kind of trip came about? Maybe Kai, maybe you can kind of kick us off here because you've kind of done this trip a couple of times before. And
yeah, well,
how did it come about for you?
Well, it's more when we herped with Simon and we just talking about how good it is going out west. Like I love the arid zone, and even though it's not an arid as such habitat, it's still arid enough. And just how Simon's never truly herped and experienced it. And I promised him that I'd take him out there this season coming, which has happened now. But we're just talking about that. And I know Simon lives close to Luke, and it pretty much just evolved from there. But it was just general chit-chat when you're walking through the bush looking for snakes, as most herp trips do start.
Yeah, so I've done Sydney pretty well now. And now that I think I've got most of the reptiles throughout Sydney, so that then starts to set the challenge that you need to go further and further away to start finding new things. And I mean, when Kai was passionate about this area and he was keen to do the drive out, I was definitely going to tag along.
Yeah, sometimes when it's laid out for you like a pretty easy trip like that, it's hard to pass it up, I suppose. It's, especially with a good couple of guys and good couple of nights too. Like the weather was pretty good to us for the most part. And yeah, no, I was stoked when you guys reached out and said, hey, do you want to come along on this one? We're planning to do this. I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to go because I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to handle it being a new dad and all, and wife being able to handle it and stuff. So I was stoked that she was able to kind of take the reins on that one. Yeah. But, so we, funnily enough, we were trying to line it up with, because Kai, you just changed your weekend to Sunday, Monday off, and I just changed my weekend to be back working Mondays. So didn't kind of line up perfectly, but I was more than happy to take the Monday off and, make it a long weekend for myself. And yeah, basically we started out from Sydney at 12 p.m., 1 p.m., something like that.
Yeah, it was around
Saturday afternoon.
12:30-ish kind of thing, yeah. Yeah, I went...
Definitely a longer drive for you, though, coming from the south coast.
Yeah, and traffic coming through the M5 and M7 on the way there, but, I mean, it's not bad. At least I got to stop and pick you guys up and And the drive to the first spot is a little bit shorter than the final destination. So, yeah, the drive wasn't a terrible drive.
Still put in a fair few hours though. Like I was trying to figure it out, and I reckon Kai would have driven 35 hours across the 3 days. This is a lot of driving.
That wouldn't surprise me at all. That wouldn't surprise me. The crazy thing is you didn't miss a beat. Like it was, you kept the energy up the whole time.
Yeah, and especially like when you do a whole week of it or 2 weeks of it, you do way more than that, and you still got to try to find stuff the whole time. Like it kind of teaches you how to push through it. Yeah, it's good fun.
Yeah. It was awesome kind of coming out of Sydney and, heading out through Cessnock and Maitland and all that sort of area and just watching the country change away. But so what was some targets for you guys on this trip? Like obviously I kind of really wanted to see goannas, but,
My main one.
What did you guys want to see?
I really want to see crucifix frog. They've always just been a weird little animal, but like as far as frogs go, I reckon they're one of the best. As well as like the bright colours, but pretty unique shape. So they're a main target for me. And then for snakes, I think it was like the Deviz coral, and maybe a palehead would have been like the 3 snakes that I was kind of mainly after. So we got one of those, which was pretty good.
Yeah.
What about yourself, Kai?
For me, I've seen a lot of the things that you can find out there, but the one animal I wanted to see was the elegant velvet gecko, a species that got recently split from Oodra monoliths, I'm pretty sure, in 2019. So I just really wanted to see that. It was in a place that I've only herped once before, and I've never night herped it. So I was going in blind pretty much as well for that first night. And, that was pretty much the top of my target, but I was more happy just showing you boys around and seeing you guys get stoked with what you guys got to see for the first time. And, yeah, I get joy out of just doing that.
Yeah.
Same for us.
It is fun when you get to experience that. Yeah. Yeah, it's that feeling of stoke when you finally find an animal that you've been wanting to see. So it took us probably 5 hours from my place, 5.5 hours or so to get to our destination, essentially. Yep. And we made a few stops along the way, didn't we?
Yeah, I think we had to stop for an animal and a couple dead ones. But I think we just stopped for fuel pretty much and got there and had dinner, I think.
Yeah. We did get to
trips like this for animals, like whether it's dead, alive, like that's what counted as our little break out of the car.
Yeah.
Push the legs for
100%.
5 seconds, have a quick look, then jump back in.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we stopped for a dead lace monitor on the way out, which was a bit unfortunate. Looked like it was pretty fresh. And we saw a dead eastern brown as well, I believe.
Yeah, we did.
A couple of blue tongues as well.
32, I think.
But
Did you say 32?
yeah, that's right. Echidna 2.
Oh,
Yeah.
kidding.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Sorry.
Oh, I thought you said 32.
Yeah.
I was like, whoa.
That's a lot of dead on road.
Yeah.
Be way too many.
No, I think
Yeah.
I got a new species tick on the way out though when we found that eastern bearded dragon basking on the road.
Yeah.
So that was pretty cool to see her there. And I think obviously you'd seen them before, Kai and Simon. You'd been able to tick those off as well previously. Hey.
Yeah, I'd only had 1 adult and 2 babies. So to actually see a few on this trip was excellent.
Yeah. And that was a massive tick for me because that's the first bearded dragon I think I'd seen in the eastern states. I think the only other bearded dragon I'd seen was a western beardy in NT. So, that was unreal. Just spending a bit of time with her. She was obviously a gravid female and she was out late afternoon basking on the road, warming up those eggs growing inside.
Yeah, and seeing wild beauties just does them justice. Like, I get so excited seeing them in the wild. Like, you think because you see them in captivity so much, like, it wouldn't be exciting, but it is. It's super exciting when you see that wild bearded dragon, especially for the first time.
Oh yeah,
and like we saw quite a few. Yeah, I would never got sick of seeing them. They were just so good to find.
Yeah,
it was kind of like our staple. We found regularly through the trip.
Yeah, definitely. I think that was the second highest count on reptiles was the bearded dragons.
Yep.
I think the geckos were first, but
yes.
Yeah, so basically we pulled up stumps just on dusk and quickly set up camp and made up some food. These guys had bangers and noodles and all sorts, and I had a lovely can of warm mushroom soup, which wasn't that warm, but yeah, anyway, banged it down and pretty much hit the road after that, didn't we?
Yeah, yep. Yeah, so that night the conditions felt pretty nice as well. We had a little bit of rain and storms in the distance, but it was really humid. And because it's like a mountain range where we were camping, it's a bit cooler on the highlands, but it was still staying around 22 degrees. And then the moment we went back down into the flatter country, at one point it read 27. I don't know if I believed it, but yeah, it was a really warm night, and it stayed consistent throughout the night, didn't really drop.
And that rain to start us off, because that was when we were setting up camp and eating. It was just that light rain. When we started that drive out, it was just frogs everywhere. Like, we didn't see any geckos at the first couple of passes we did. It was just frogs. But a whole bunch of them were new species for us as well. We were getting like one of the pobblebonks, the eastern banjo.
I think it was northerns.
Northern banjos, yeah.
One of them.
One of them, yeah.
We got the like green tree frogs. Oh gosh, I can't remember. We're getting the ornate burrowing frogs.
Yeah. Yeah, we got
we're getting the not Australis, what were the other one? Were we getting those there? The Ablaguda or whatever it's called.
Oh, the green striped frogs. I think.
Yeah.
No,
I'm not. I don't think that was the second night. Yeah, I know we got palm rocket frogs.
Yep.
Yeah, it's just tricky trying to remember all the different frogs.
I'm missing the nights.
Yeah.
I think it was the green stripe and the rough frog and the spotted marsh frogs. They were all the second night.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so okay. The others.
Yeah. What was really cool, though, is like... Oh, it wasn't bad.
Yeah.
Like, it was... I'd say it was pretty dried out, but in saying that, it was very green.
Yeah.
Like grass was super long. You could tell the beauties were in a good paddock. You know, they were all pretty
thick,
pretty chunky for the most part, or, you know, had a good enough weight on them. Saw plenty of gravid animals. So it was good to see that they're kind of having a bit of a season where they were bumping back. And as we will no doubt touch on, is frogs were just in plague proportions out there. Like, it was incredible. Kai spent most of the nights doing these ones around them, just trying to serve them and not clip frogs.
Yeah.
But yeah, that night was really cool after that light rain, because as soon as we hit the road was still scorching hot. So there was just steam pumping up everywhere off the road, which was just awesome for the humidity. So no doubt that's why the frogs were just out enjoying the heat and the steam. But yeah, you had a particular spot that you wanted to get to, Kai, because you wanted to have a bit of a night walk around.
Yeah, there was a spot a friend gave me, and that was supposed to be really good for those volvic geckos, but unfortunately could not find any. We put a little bit of time into walking around, but we still made the most of it and done some laps of the road after that, which is probably good in hindsight that we did walk that then, because I feel like because the rain stopped, it dried up a little bit, and then the reptiles started coming out, which is pretty interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, it was after that we started doing a few laps, as you said, and the Stropherus Williams I started turning up left, right and centre. They were on the move.
That was one of the things you wanted to see.
That was unreal to see a gecko that I keep here.
Yep.
But it really was a clean break
the main
between
thing I
when
wanted
we were
to see.
playing the
Well,
frogs.
definitely as far as geckos went.
Yeah. And it's always good to see strophs. I don't get sick of them, ever. They're awesome.
Yeah, that was a new species for me, so I was stoked to find them.
What always amazes me is it's always amazing how you can just, once you're tuned into it, obviously, but, Kai would be calling Stroff when he's 200 metres ahead of it or behind it sort of thing, and he'd be zooming up on it, and he'd be like, how did you even see that? Barely looks like a speck on the road, but, yeah.
You get used to it. You get used to it.
But that was great to see them in numbers, and it almost became like a bit of a joke that night because I think we started getting a few, and I was like, "Oh, come on, Kai, you got to get us to 10 now."
Yeah, you said you promised me
10.
I think you said you promised me 10, and then I was like, "Right, I'm going to get you 10."
We got to 9 on the first night, so you did a pretty solid effort.
Yeah, I reckon if we kept cruising, we would have got the 10th. But also we got that bandy as well.
Oh,
that night.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So, and it was a little baby as well.
That's tiny.
Yeah.
It was almost like I think Simon measured it out at about 220 mil roughly.
Oh, yeah.
Using his,
useful.
Pretty close to that. But it was
200 mil handspan.
Yeah. Oh, a perfect 200 mil. It's great. But the thickness of the thing was pretty crazy. It wasn't much bigger than a shoelace.
Wow.
I mean, that's what Kai thought it was, a strap or a bit of rope or something like that, but always double check those things.
Yeah.
Yep.
Nice to check.
Yeah, it looked like a bit of chunk of paracord or something with the black and white on it.
Yep. And I think you guys are giving me... You guys are giving me a bit of crap saying, "Oh, we drove all this way just to see a bandy."
But it was one of those things that I asked
that was the only
because when we got that light rain, I was like, "Oh, this is kind of what you want, that 20-something degree temps, that light rain, that's not what normally brings them out." So, the first night, that was our one snake, and so, that's something we get at home, but, I mean, everything has its novel kind of, characteristics to it. So the size of that one, I think that's what made that bandy really cool.
Yeah.
And I guess for me, I've herped Sydney a fair bit now, so you find the animals is trying to find those little differences. So as soon as you start hitting new areas like this, even the thick-tailed gecko that we got later that night, it's just seeing the difference in region or even individual characteristics of the animals, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, well, that bandy, that had very solid blacks to it and very kind of thin white stripes. So versus the ones that I've generally seen are kind of 50-50 around Sydney, where you've got that kind of even black to white ratio, where this one had way more black than white.
Yep. And I've noticed that on another bandy that I found out that way as well. Just a lot more blacks.
Yeah. That, it wasn't long after that, I believe we did come across that thick-tailed gecko, if I'm not mistaken, Simon, and that was a very bright individual.
Yeah, I think it was later in the night that we got the thick tail on maybe our final pass.
Yeah.
But the cool thing was the orange colour in that one. So the ones around home have that really strong purple, and occasionally you get a little bit of orange in the head. But this one had that orange all the way through, down the whole body. It still had that purple tinge to it, but it's more down the centre of the head and the centre of the body. It was a bit more of that orange.
Pictures of that one.
Yeah, it was probably... I'd go as far as saying it was one of the nicest thicktails I've ever seen personally. It was a really beautiful lizard.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely reckon it was probably the best one that I've seen as far as brightness and coloration goes. But yeah, we basically just continued doing a few hot laps that night, and eventually we stumbled across a funny looking strough.
Oh yeah, I called Stroff on that one too. But
yeah, so we oh, you tell the story, Kai.
Oh, well, it's like I thought it was a Stroff, and then I walked up on it, and the outline in my head torch was a little bit bigger than a Stroff, but it was the bright yellow colours. Instantly, I knew we got our velvet gecko, and yeah, I was pretty excited.
Getting the candy store.
Yeah.
Pretty excited might be a bit of an understatement. But, yeah.
Yeah, well, when you're expecting the 7th Stroff for the night.
Oh, I'm stoked! I've got number 7. Fuck yes! Sorry for my language.
Sorry, I had to stitch you off with that little clip there. Cause,
yeah.
You had that waiting, didn't you, Luke?
Fair enough.
Well, Luke's got a whole bunch of stuff recorded for this.
Yeah.
Oh, no, yeah. He can stitch me up more than that. But, no, I was super stoked. I was super stoked.
From the car, it was just another gecko outline. So, like, it was fair enough just thinking it was another Stroff. And, I mean, it still had that kind of lighter grey colour. But it's, when you got closer, that yellow really popped through it.
And you probably weren't expecting it on like a road cruising. No,
not at all. Like, I know I've found a lot of velvet geckos road cruising before. But it was more, we got so many Stroffs, it was just, I was expecting another Stroff, but when it wasn't, it was a bit more exciting than if I knew it was a velvet kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, it's completely fair enough. I mean, that was an awesome looking gecko, and that was great to be able to spend some time with that, and just seeing the patterns on it and the colours and that kind of like little boomerang symbol behind the neck, and then those like dots going all the way down its back. Like, it's just so ornate.
Did we figure out if it was an original tail or a regen?
I personally still think it's a regen, but I'm not too sure. Yeah.
It looked good either way. Like, if that was a regen, it was one of the best regen tails I've seen.
Yeah, it was still pretty. It was still really pretty lizard.
Yeah, 100%. And you both got some pretty good photos of it too, from memory.
Yeah. Yeah, I was pretty happy with the photos I got of that one.
I'm trying to find the picture Luke sent me so I can have a look.
Yeah,
it's hard to tell if that tail is regen or not.
It's kind of like there's no pattern to it, essentially. Like, it's got a little bit of like kind of modelling colours and stuff through it, but it looks very like a clean tail.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't look like there's kind of any obvious breaks or abnormalities or anything like that to it.
Yeah. You just weren't sure if the dots were meant to continue all the way down through.
Yeah.
They kind of stopped before the tail.
Yeah, they kind of stopped right at the start of the tail, just above the cloaca there. And then it's just kind of tail the whole way down. Beautiful
good
gecko, though. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a cracking lizard.
That was another fun thing with the geckos. So Luke and I went on a walk in Sydney probably a couple of weeks before, and he's teaching me how to tell if they were male or female. So every gecko we found, like all, I think 17 Stroffs, I would always go up and try to see if I could get it right. I think I got there pretty well in the end, but it's funny, like, you guys were
you picked it up super early.
Yeah.
So
it was,
either of these guys have video, it's just me yelling out male or female.
You know what we do. That's awesome.
Well, when we went on that walk, Simon's got some regular thick-tailed geckos that he sees. So it was kind of like, I was just kind of pointing out, which ones were male, which ones were female and stuff like that, so he could kind of identify him easier again next time. Not that he wasn't, but, just another feature to kind of pick up as you go.
Helps identify them.
We were
Especially
kind of
'cause,
checking the geckos out.
Yeah, the ones near home, I kind of know what corners they're going to be on, and they've kind of got a 3 to 5 meter range, so they really don't go too far. So if I can start picking the gender, that'll help figure out which ones are there and which ones are back.
Yeah. And soon you'll be able to tell whether they're gravid or not too when they're females.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Then I'll keep a
It's kind of
closer
like
eye
that
on
next
those
step
areas.
Yeah, because you might have little babies running around under your feet too.
Yeah.
That'd be pretty cool. That was almost it for night one, really, wasn't it? Once we kind of got the elegans, it was pretty late in the night that we
got back to camp at 1:30 in the morning, I think.
Yeah.
So it was a pretty late one, and it really bucketed down when we got back to camp. So it was good timing.
Yeah, it was great timing. Put my tarp to the test. That's for sure. That was a loud night trying to get to sleep in that. But anyway,
An interesting night. Was it that night or this
morning? I had both nights were interesting for me in the hammock setup. That night because of the weather. The next night was because of another reason that I'll get to
Yeah,
later.
that's what I was thinking.
Yeah. But yeah, basically we slept for a few hours. Oh, well, I slept for a few hours. I woke up at 6. I think these guys had another couple of hours on me. I'd already been up and had a couple of coffees and brekkie. And then, yeah, we pretty much, we kind of sussed out the river quickly that we were kind of camping next to and had a bit of a poke around and pretty much hightailed it out of there because we wanted to get up through the Pilliga and have a bit of a poke around through there.
Yeah.
That was the first time you'd seen red sand as well, hey, Simon?
First in a long time. So I did Alice Springs when I was 13, so it was a good while ago. But yeah, even just, I wouldn't have been driving then. I definitely wasn't driving at the age of 13, but it just wasn't something that I was really conscious of. So to be kind of front seat, actually really enjoying the view the whole way. Even just that first turn where we went off the bitumen onto that first kind of dirt track, just seeing how quickly it just felt very different. So that was just really enjoyable to just stare out the window the whole time. And even if there weren't animals, I would have been pretty satisfied. But the animals that we found out there made it even better.
Yeah. So we probably pulled into there, maybe 9:30, something like that. It was still reasonably early of the morning. And basically just started working through the grid that is the Pilliga and having a bit of a cruise around. Kai did have a destination on the GPS, but we were kind of essentially just taking our time working through there and seeing what we could find.
Yep. Yeah, I forget what we found first. I don't know if it was I think it was a bearded dragon.
I think so. I think it was the one that I almost kicked in the head. So that was the one that spotted it off the road, run off the road, and you guys went deeper into the bush, and I was just kind of it didn't really look like it was running that fast. Maybe it just stopped in the grass. So I'm just sweeping my foot low above the grass, and my third or fourth pass of that, just see a head sticking up. I'm like, oh yeah, I almost kicked it, and just pulled it out, and I was just pretty happy to sit in my hand for a while.
Yeah.
That's right. I forgot about that.
That, very lucky bearded dragon. Might have had a roundhouse kick to the face from Simon Shue. But, that was such a big lizard as well. There's one thing about the bearded dragons is they were super calm, hey? They didn't really care about any interaction, most of them. They were very enjoyable to see.
Usually they just you walk up on them and they just drop their head down to the low to the ground and they don't even run. You just have to physically pick them up to put them off the road. If you don't do that, they will get squished.
Yeah.
And what I loved with holding it is I could move my hand around in different positions. So I was trying to get a better view of it, but it just kept its head in that same spot. So if I moved my hand, it just counted its head in the same way and kept that fairly stable. So I found that really fascinating when handling them.
Almost like a chicken.
Yeah, very much like a chicken. They weren't the only dragons that we got early morning, though, were they?
No. So we spotted I think first was a gravid female, knobby dragon. She was basking on a little rock on the side of the road. You just, I'm always scanning, especially on dirt roads like that, like those high vantage points, especially in the mornings, like it's just perfect for dragons. If you see a little head poking up, like it's unmissable. So yeah, she was pretty cool to see, and it was another new species tick for both Simon and Luke. Yeah, they're pretty out there too.
Good looking lizards. And it's kind of funny looking at them and just seeing how small they actually are. Because I know guys like Mitch Hodgson and stuff have worked with a lot of smaller gametes, and I know he's breeding a lot of knobbies for a while there, if I'm not mistaken. And yeah, you could see all the eggs and stuff just absolutely pumped inside of her as well. I reckon she would have had a good 8 to 10 eggs inside of that little tiny lizard.
It almost looks like they've swallowed a bag of marbles, doesn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Because I think it was the first 2 that we saw were both like gravid, and the lumps that you could see in them were pretty impressive. Like it's very full. It'd be awesome to see like just after she lays, just to see that size difference of what she's holding.
Yeah,
and a dragon that size, like the weight they'd lose as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Most reptiles, it's just amazing the amount of weight loss they have through becoming gravid and depositing eggs. Like,
yeah,
like that dragon would have gotten off those eggs and just been skin and bones, you know.
Yep.
Rearing for a feed.
And especially small agamids, like they have really short lifespans, so they do have to just exert all their energy into breeding.
Yeah, double clutching as well, like the seasons. And I suppose it's probably a good season for to be laying clutches though out that way with all the rain they've had and all the bugs that'll be out and about and everything else. So
plenty of bugs,
plenty of
that's
bugs.
for sure.
yeah.
Yeah, lots of mosquitoes as well. It was, yeah, we got absolutely pilfered for our blood that weekend, I reckon.
Yep.
I think the worst of it was when we finally had that, jumping ahead a bit, but we had that crucifix frog. You 2 jumped back in the car, but I was going to be the only one I saw. I was going to get a photo of it, so I stuck it out for another 5-10 minutes. But it was
I remember holding my I remember holding my torch for you to try to get frogs or whatever, and I was just watching like 10 of them swarming over my hand. I was just like, nah, I'm done. That was late that night too. But yeah, we basically cruising around. I think we found a few beardies and a couple of knobby dragons that morning, and then it kind of went quite quiet for a little bit.
Yeah, for a little bit.
Come on, where's the?
Yeah, I said it. I was like,
as well.
Yeah, I was like, where's the Varanids?
That's right.
And then literally like a minute down the road and turn the corner and there was a nice sized sand monitor just sitting on the edge of the road. So we pretty much put it out there and the herp gods gave them to us.
Yeah. It was cool though, the way that you could just pull up the car kind of next to it. And we could just kind of do down the windows and take a couple of photos or whatever from the window and just admire it. And it kind of like cruised off into like some shade just off the side of the embankment there. And it was awesome because that Sandy tripoded as well.
Yeah.
And Simon got a good photo of that one tripoding underneath the shade, which was wicked.
The amount of body it's able to get up in the air, like it really helps its visibility when like the proportions of the size of it compared to that elevation of its head that it got, like, makes a big difference for it.
Mm.
Oh, yeah. Well, that thing would have been standing near, 40, 45 centimetres tall, at least, in the air when it was upright. Yeah, kind of with the sand monitor thing, I'd put it out to Kai. I was like, I really want to get hands-on with one of these guys and actually, or, at least see one really up close, because when we were in the NT, we had Buckley's chance of catching the ones that we were chasing around the spinifex. So yeah, we kind of started off seeing if we could sneak up on it a little bit, and yeah, kind of shot up a tree right next to Kai, and yeah, take it away, Kai. You decided to try some new moves.
Yeah, it tried to, it just shot at a tree, but this tree was dead. It must have been burnt or something prior. And it got to the top and it couldn't climb anymore, and I was just looking at it. Typical sand monitors, though, they sidestep you. Like, they are so quick. You see them in captivity, but when you see one just flat stick in the open, they are the quickest lizards. Yeah, but they're not too good at climbing trees. They're pretty slow at climbing trees. But, yeah, I saw it up there, and about head high for me, there was this branch coming out, and I just thought I tried to pull myself up, and I don't know, I just kept going with it and climbed halfway up this tree. I don't even know how I got up there, really. And
it was like a solid 5 meters high.
Yeah, right. I mean, the motivation of a lizard up there is exactly what got you up there.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I was like, still about 2 arm lengths away from it, and there was no chance of me getting it. So I called Simon to go get a hook out of my car, and just so I can even just try to pull its tail towards me a little bit or something. And yeah, I tapped it on the tail, and it decided to jump. And Luke just put his arms out and cradled it like a baby when it landed.
Perfect.
I don't know if it just thought I was a weird-looking tree or something like that, but yeah, just sprungboard straight into my hands pretty much, and I caught it on the full. So that was a pretty exciting moment. I think Simon missed it too, because I think you checked your footing or something like that, and then when you looked up, and I was holding it in my hands.
The 2 steps to get backwards after tossing Kai the hook, like that's how quick it was. He grabbed it, shuffled it up his hand, and tapped it. So I took 2 steps back so I could get a better look at it, so I wasn't directly underneath. And next thing I know, Luke's next to me with it in his hands. And I'm like, that's not where it was before. It's just a great catch. And we were just wondering, like, Luke was the next tallest thing, so to jump out of the tree from, if Kai was 5 meters up, it was even higher than that. So, yeah, Luke was the next thing to break the fall.
Maybe I was just the next landing.
Yeah.
Yep.
I did break its fall. It definitely would have hurt less landed in my hands than probably on me or on the grass or something like that. So, yeah.
Didn't hurt.
No, that was cool. That was cool to be.
It didn't hurt you less, though.
No, I'm still healing up. Looking at my hands today going, what are these scratches from? Oh, that's right. The sand monitor 2 weekends ago. Yeah. Yeah, no, that was amazing to be able to do that. And it was reasonably calm too. All a bit scratchy, but, you know, it kind of just sat there essentially and hissed a little bit, but I suppose it didn't really see us as too major of a threat. And then, yeah, Simon got some cracking photos of that on the sand too when we put it down.
Yeah.
I think, like, the cool thing for me seeing was just the length of the tongue as well. Like, on the full extent of the flick out, it's just...
Yeah.
You question how it fits its tongue into its head. You're right down the back of its throat. But it was just fantastic to watch. And, yeah, like they were saying, it just sat pretty nicely for us in the end. It was good.
I reckon the best part about that, well, you know, obviously the story coming out of that, but the coolest thing is when you put it down the ground and you're kind of like, all right, come on, it's time for you to go. And it just raced off into the scrub. And I was just like, you could have blinked and that thing would have been gone. Like, it was so quick.
Yeah,
it's impressive.
It is. And especially, like, that's like in scrub as well. Like, when you see something even more west than that, like, where there's not as many trees, they bolt.
Mm. Yeah, that was the one thing that we saw in the Barclay when we were up there, is that just motor straight through the red sand and through the spinifex, and you just go,
yes, we're getting them.
See, looking at the horizon and things in the horizon.
You can really see how they can catch those small dragons that are also very, very quick lizards.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think seeing the speed of it as well just
Yeah,
made us appreciate even more the fact that we got hands on that first one. Because, like, that's the thing. Like, we didn't know if we were going to see others and if we'd get hands on them or not, and how close we'd get to look at them. So to get that from the first one was pretty cool.
Yeah. We had a pretty steady run of them after that, including we ended up finding a few lace monitors kind of scattered in between as well.
Yep.
That was cool because we were kind of hoping to see a Bell's Face Lacey up there, but
yeah, and they're very beautiful out there. The Bell's Face.
One day, another reason to go back.
Oh yeah, there's heaps of reasons to go back.
Yeah,
for sure,
plenty. But yeah, we were kind of cruise around through the Pilliga for majority of the day, and I think we topped out at 6 sand monitors, 3 lace monitors, 4 knobby dragons, all in that kind of day, as well as a few beardies scattered in between.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was pretty cool to be able to do a bit of cruising through there. There were a few puddles and stuff through there, which we kind of skirting around the sides of and stuff. But apart from that, what did we get? We got 3 female knobby dragons and 1 little male. That was really cool to see the difference between the females and the males there.
Yep.
And so
and how the males have those 2 lines, but they're like bright yellow pretty much.
Yeah. And it's almost like a bit of a bluer colour to their bodies as well. I wouldn't call it blue, but like a bit more of like a darker greyish blue versus that kind of light grey that the females had.
Yep.
That was cool. We kind of just cruised around through there.
Yeah, we checked out that lookout, the lookout tower, and it really gives you I think it's 50 metres high or something like that, and it just really gives you a perspective about how flat the Pilliga is and where it situates between the 2 mountain ranges.
It's pretty flat out there.
Yep.
And also the base of the tower as well, we had a nice bearded dragon just sitting up the top waiting for us.
Yeah, that's right. It was on the step.
Pretty cool. And that one, like, really got
he was cool too.
That was a cool display.
Yeah. And it was climbing around kind of like horizontally on those vertical surfaces as well, and like running on them.
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah, it goes to show how well climbed. Like, they're such good climbers.
Oh yeah.
He was only one of the few that did actually run from us. Most pretty much just sat there.
Yeah, it was good to see him throw the beard though.
Yeah.
A lot different to ducking and camouflaging, or trying to camouflage. Yeah. Wasn't too long after that we did come across another sandy and managed to have a bit of a fun experience with that sandy as well.
Yeah, that was hilarious. And I told you to film that one too, and I'm glad you did.
I am too, because I had a chance to film the first catch, and I thought, well, no, we're never getting this. So I put the camera down on the tripod and just turned it off. And if I'd left it on where it was, I reckon I would have got that on film. But yeah, basically we hopped out of the car and we were chasing around this sandy for a quick minute in the middle of a dirt road. And it kind of scooted past me and got through a bit of bushes and dove into a big puddle, which was a pretty decent puddle. It would have been like 20 metres long, I reckon, and kind of, you know, at its deepest, maybe 2 foot deep at best. But yeah, it just dove under and held its breath, hey, and we were walking up and down that puddle, like trying to poke it with sticks and seeing if we could kind of stir up the goanna.
Yeah, and you got us, and I know, I think Simon was saying, like, oh, are you sure it didn't go out the other side and run into the bush? And I was like, no, it's in this puddle. I know it's in this puddle.
Yeah, I was walking the outside of the puddle just waiting for a head to pop up and ready for it to do a runner while you guys were in there, and it never did. Yeah.
The thing that amazed me is, like, that was like I reckon that was close to 10 minutes of that thing being underwater. Like it was seriously under there for a good length of time. And then Kai put it to me that maybe we should take off our boots and go for a wade. And it's like, okay, well, we're going to do it. And kind of emptied our pockets because we knew we were probably going to go arse over tit in the mud.
Yeah.
And I think you were still poking around with a stick or something.
Yeah, I was poking around with a stick, and I was like, saw what you were doing. I'm like, yeah, that's probably a better idea. I'm not going to find anything doing that. So I threw the stick, and the moment I put my hands in the water, you were just like, got it.
Yeah, it was pretty early on too. Like it was probably the first couple of meters.
Yeah, it didn't take long.
I just remember, like, I felt its tail. I was like, it's either the sand monitor or I've got a snake. I wasn't 100% sure what I was going to pull up. And then I kind of took that next grab and got it right around the belly. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. Here it is. Not something more sinister. But yeah, that wouldn't have ended well. No. And that one, because he kind of chilled himself down, Simon got to have a bit of a play around with that one as well, hey?
Yeah, that one didn't scratch me up in 5 seconds. So that one was nice. The first one left me a little bloody, and I was only holding it for only a couple of seconds. But this one was much more chilled out.
Goanna tattoos.
Yeah. And Luke, you pointed out that it might have taken a little bit of water, which is why it had its head up on quite an angle. So it was, it really leaned back. It looks like quite a funny pose, but it's. I was just happy to sit there and, had no issue after this little swim. It had chilled out because that had cooled it down a bit as well. So it wasn't as red hot as the others.
Yep. Was that right in the middle of the day as well, or was that kind of afternoon?
Yeah, we pulled out lunch at that time as well.
Yeah, we did.
Would have been, pretty much midday.
Yes, it'd be nice. He would have been nice and hot to start with for sure.
Oh, it was quick.
Yeah.
I think Kai and I both stacked it trying to catch it when it was on the dirt. But yeah, we kind of put it down for a few photos, and it wasn't too long after that it decided that it had enough. So it piss bolted, but it went to a tree that was kind of right next to this pond and climbed it right to the top. And I was sitting in these thin branches, and it was just kind of swaying in the wind while it was I was at least 10, 15 metres in the air, I reckon, that tree. Yeah. That was a big tree.
That was, a very big tree.
But it would have had just as much security 2 metres down on a nice solid branch, not up the spindly stuff with the leaves where it happened to hang out. So.
Don't know his rationale, but but I suppose in his world he's just like, I'm away from those guys down there that wanted to cuddle me.
He knew he was safe if he fell because Luke was there to catch him.
Luke had him covered.
He could have just landed in his pool. He was right there. Yeah, that would have been a softer landing, probably.
Belly flop contest.
But we had a quick bite to eat and a bit of a break after that, and shared some laughs about it, and watched the underbelly of the goanna swaying in the tree, and pretty much took off after that. And it wasn't too long after that we actually got out of the Pilliga, hey?
Yeah, so I think we drove down that road for a little bit and realised we couldn't get through. There was the road was very degraded. So we did a U-turn, went back, and just went back down the main dirt road back to the highway. And I was driving towards Narrabri, and I knew that there was a left-hand turn that took us to the camp spot that we were going to stay at. So we took that dirt road as you do on the off chance you're going to see some reptiles. And I was glad we did because we found the biggest snake of the trip down that road.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Was the blue tongue just before or just after? I think the blue tongue was just before as well.
Yeah, I think it was just before. Yep.
That was a nice little bluey. That was flashing his tongue quite a bit, actually, that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was pretty angry. But, no, that was a, you can just see the silhouette of a snake, glistening in the sun, and that sight never gets old to me, ever. And, yeah, it was a pretty solid eastern brown snake.
Very solid.
Yeah.
Very solid. Yeah.
Yeah.
That thing
That'd be the
was
thickest
my
lap that
wrist.
I've seen.
How long was it, roughly?
Let's say 5 foot.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. But it wasn't the length of the snake that it was the thickness. It was a very fat snake. And I mean, I remember I think it was last year I was in Narrabri and there was the like the mouse plagues going on out there.
Yeah.
And it was bad to the point where my partner and I were sleeping in the swag and they were climbing up the mesh of the swag. And of a night, she'd just like smack the side of the swag and the mouse would go flying and you hear it land in the bush somewhere and run off. So the snakes out there, especially the eastern brown snakes being mostly rodent and mammal eaters, he was a very fat snake.
Yeah. Would have been good for numbers, that's for sure.
It'd definitely been in a good paddock.
Yes. And especially after seeing like a dead one and it was good to finally get a live one.
It wasn't just live either, it was lively.
Oh yeah. It was definitely showing you the brown snake attitude, that's for sure.
Yeah. That was probably the one moment in the trip where I was kind of like, I'll say a little bit on edge because it was just kind of like, all right, okay, you got to kind of switch your senses on a little bit more when you're close to one of those things.
Okay, and it might not seem like I'm enjoying it or whatever, but it's just the learning curve of learning how a snake like that would act, what it would do in different situations, and I take a lot from that, and it's amazing to see just a snake that lively and healthy out there because previous to the rains, I know I've talked to friends and they said these snakes were anorexic.
Yeah. It seems like it's just been going gangbusters out there for the reptiles and stuff. They've just been, doesn't matter what reptile or amphibian you were or what animal really, most of them seem to be just absolutely thriving.
That's good to see though, I guess.
Yeah, no.
Well, it's great to see. Like when this was our first trip out there, like
Yeah,
but
it'd be
that
good to
brown
be able
snake.
to kind of have some comparisons in the future.
Yeah, for sure. But that brown snake, the colour of it was beautiful too. It was like a goldy brown colour. Definitely way different to the ones I've seen in Sydney where they've got those silver bands and they're a little bit more grey. Usually out there I just see them shoot across the road at 1,000,000 miles an hour and you never get a close look at it. But that one, we got to actually have a close look and it was awesome snake.
Yeah, it had some like really good coppery kind of undertones and stuff to it. It was a gorgeous looking animal. And there's definitely some nice photos came out from that one too. But decided to kind of just sit still and defend itself.
Yep.
it was mouth open every chance
away,
it had. Like it was really putting on a display for us.
Yeah. It was switched on, and I mean, by that time of day too, that would probably been 2 o'clock or so in the afternoon by that stage. So
it was hottest part of the day.
Hot.
Yep.
Yeah. I think we were getting up to like 30, 31 even.
I think it was.
30
It would have been. I think it was high 20s, at least.
Yeah.
I think it quickly peaked into the 30s, which was good.
Yep.
Yeah.
But,
That was a good snake.
Yes. But after that we pretty much got to our campground and we pretty much relaxed for the whole afternoon. We just sitting there watching the birds, and Simon and I just had our long lens next to us, twitching.
Twitching.
But
rainbow bee eaters were around, so that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Kingfishers but like just sitting on the lake was awesome. Camp chairs out, just seeing what went by. It was good fun.
Yep.
Yeah. Yep. Reptiles with wings, hey?
Yes.
That's what you guys were looking at.
And there was strough trees.
Yeah, plenty of strough trees. Once we got dialed in on those things, I couldn't stop looking at them. Photographing.
Once I told you about them,
photographing the environment and stuff.
Yeah, once I told you about them, I was like, these trees here are the ones that they live in. I'm like, yet I haven't seen one in a tree like that, but they're always found around those types of trees.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it was good just to stop and even if we found one on the road, we'd always try to like see where's the tree. There's got to be one nearby, and yeah, it's awesome when you start learning about their habits and where they live.
Yeah, especially when it's a species you do keep, or you plan to keep, or something like that. Like when you can do limited field research like that. Like obviously you're not going to be bringing back stacks of data or anything, but just to kind of get a little bit of a gauge on what they like in the wild is, I reckon, it's just beneficial all around. But yeah, we pretty much just chilled out that afternoon. That was quite nice just to kind of have a break from being in the car because we've been doing some pretty solid hours.
Yeah. Oh, and we saw a male Burns dragon.
That's right.
At the campsite.
That's right, at the campsite.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was bobbing his head, and
that was another species tip.
Yeah, he was bobbing his head just like all the other tartar lizards.
Yeah, the animals you can find right outside a toilet block when you're at a campsite like that is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, an interesting story.
Simon came up with a new herping strategy at the.
Yeah, there were the signs on all the toilets.
Yeah, I'll get to that because that's a little bit later in the night.
With the even just that toilet block, they had all the signs saying that you had to shut the lid so the frogs don't come, and the frogs attract snakes. So, I mean, there's temptation for all of us to go open the toilet
and leave them open.
See what could come in that night.
Yeah, that's something you don't think of. That's pretty funny. Yeah, it always seems to be a thing everywhere you go. Like the toilet blocks always seem to be like an attraction for whether it's geckos hanging near the lights to catch bugs or whatever. But
yeah,
like
even if you're out like in the arid zone where it's really really hot, like the toilet blocks are going to be the coolest place.
Yeah, that's right.
So obviously you're going to get some snakes hiding in there, and they're always good places to look. I don't know, like. Other people think you're idiots trying to, like, spotlight around a toilet block, but...
I think you're a creep or something. What's this guy doing?
Yeah.
Toilets with the spotlight.
Yeah. But you always see...
camera in.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Yeah, it was good. It was good. Yeah, it was good just to relax and, just soak in the environment, like...
Yeah,
herping's about seeing the reptiles, but you wouldn't have the reptiles if you didn't have the birds and the plants and the trees, and you know, it was just so good to, especially with all the rain. Like the bird life in the Central West is amazing.
Yeah,
you know, you've got all these species of honey eaters, the apostle birds. They're awesome, and then the chance of getting glossy black cockatoos and stuff out there, which I've seen.
Even the eagles, like that was a big tick for me. Like I'm pretty sure I'd seen them as a kid, but nothing in like memorable times. So there was quite a few chances. I mean, on the first day driving in, we saw 6 or 7 of them. But then scattered throughout that second day, we'd just be driving and you'd see one pop up, and whether that was crossing the road in front of you or just running through the bush alongside.
Yeah.
I just would have them appear.
Ever seen one in the wild? I've like obviously seen them in captivity and stuff, but I've never seen an emu in the wild.
They're pretty cool. They're super funny. Like they're very one-directional. Like if they've got a set path, they're going to try to run away from your car. They'll just keep going that one way.
That one way, yeah.
Yeah, and they're always good to see and spot. They are dead set dinosaurs. They're
Yeah.
probably the closest you'll get.
Yeah. No, it'd be awesome to see one in the wild, that's for sure. But,
I think we probably saw 20, 25 across.
yeah, right.
Like they really did just keep popping up.
Yeah.
And we struck pretty well with 7 right at the end, like one with some younger ones. But yeah, they were just like something different to spot alongside. It's not just the reptiles crossing the roads. No,
Yeah. Cool. Did you do much more herping that night, or was that kind of like you just relaxed for most of that night?
Yeah, so we waited till dark, had our dinner, and then tried to herp that night. I mean, the temperatures weren't as good as the night before.
Yeah.
But still, you go out and give it a go, and straight away we're getting strophs again.
Yeah.
Well, even before the strophs, the frogs. There's that pretty similar, like just after dusk, that like similar to the night before the frogs are out. And that's when we got the green striped frogs, the rough frog. Yeah. You saw a water holding frog.
Yeah, so we got to see eastern water holding frogs, which if people don't know what they are, they're those frogs that make a cocoon out of their own skin.
Yes, yep.
Yeah, so they're pretty cool. They're a pretty plain looking frog, but just their physiology and their behaviour is just what makes them special.
Yeah, they actually live under the ground, don't they?
Yeah, so they live. Yeah. Most of the frogs out there do.
Yep.
A lot of the Cyclorana species, like the green striped frogs, and the eastern water holding frogs, they all are burrowing species. But the last couple of years, I don't think they've had to hide underground for long.
Especially this year, they've probably just been floating in the water.
Yeah.
There were so many puddles, and like on the drive out there around where we found the brown snake and the blue tongue.
Yeah.
Like Kai was marking, it's like, okay, we might need to come back to this puddle and this puddle and this puddle. We didn't even get close to coming back to there.
Yeah.
Because there was just that many good puddles around. And like the frogs were everywhere. Like when we say plague proportions, the spotted marsh frogs in particular, they were absolutely everywhere. And like the ones that I'd seen around the Highlands, pretty similar size to like the striped marsh frogs that we were getting like around home.
Yeah.
But the ones out there, the spotted ones, they were probably pretty similar to like, your crinia, like your really, your little frogs. They were tiny.
Yeah,
but
right.
We weren't even fully sure if they were spotted marsh frogs or not.
Yeah.
Until after, because we just thought the size of them was completely different, and we never saw anything bigger. It was always just the little ones.
Yeah, and what threw us more was the colour variation. And I don't know if it was just the amount of frogs, like even if they were just like the amount of breeding they've been doing or what. But yeah, Simon's got photos of red ones, brown ones. It was pretty interesting, and that was throwing me through a loop. Like, I admit I'm not the best frog IDer in the world.
Same here.
So I was second guessing myself the whole trip about what things were.
It's kind of funny when you think you've found like 3 different species of frog that are similar, and you're just trying to find those little differences, and someone comes back, it's like, oh yeah, they're all the same.
And sometimes you can't tell. It all comes down to like the croak.
Yeah.
That makes them different, so yeah. But it's always handy having people that that are pretty good at ID and stuff like that. You can just flick them a picture and they can just get back to you pretty much straight away, whereas you go back 15 years ago, you kind of have to take a picture and wait, get back, show the person, oh yeah, it's this. But now you can actually know then and there on the spot, which is pretty handy. But
yeah, it is. It is super handy, and even for people who are just getting into it or wanting to learn how to ID things, just join those identification groups, and you don't have to know what they are, but learn off the people that do.
Yeah, that's right. And even if you look at the picture, you don't have to answer on the page, but have a crack at guessing it before you read the comments to see if you can identify it. Then read the comments and see if you got it right, which is
Yeah, and that's probably my favourite part about those ID groups, and it is they do teach people how to identify snakes.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, that's actually how I
not
got
just
into
snakes, but reptiles.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how I got into all of this in the start. Like, I got a new camera and I was like, oh, let's see if we can find anything. And I was just about to turn around and found a golden crown snake deep in shed. Had no idea what that was.
Yeah.
So joined the ID group, and after 4 months of seeing like snake photos, like this is pretty cool. Like let's go looking for a diamond python. So
Yeah.
like that's honestly how I got into all of this.
See, that's a completely different way than like most people get into it, you know, which is awesome.
Yeah. And then when you get to know a few people with a bit more of an idea, like those ID groups are pretty quick, but Kai is one of my mates that I'll message pretty much straight away. If I want a quick response. Kai and Michael will get back to me fairly quick.
Yeah.
So that's always pretty handy when I'm out there.
But it's good because once we ID it for you, then the next time you see that animal, you're like, oh, it's actually that. I know that now. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. And sometimes it comes down to like the smaller scalation differences, you know, like that you can't see it from just like a not a very good photo, but you got to get like real close to actually be able to tell the difference. So.
Yeah, exactly. You need a microscope.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So Luke just said he's trying to get back in. So. Yeah,
no, that's all good.
But yeah, so that's pretty handy though that the frogs are just kind of everywhere, and you probably got to crucifix frogs.
Yeah, so we're cruising for a bit, and then I feel like we would have got more snakes if it was a hotter day. I always find like things like spotted black snakes, they really need that really, really hot day to come out at night.
Yeah.
Which unfortunately we didn't get to see, which, you know, that's conditions and that's herping. And
that's right.
But we did get a pretty nice sized Devis banded snake, which was very fat. They're major frog eaters. I've found those snakes sitting around muddy puddles. I've seen one even sitting just underwater in ambush.
Yeah.
So they are pretty awesome though.
Yeah, and when we were done photographing it, like that was a lifetimer for Luke and I. But it went off into the puddle, so to actually see it cruise through the water was pretty impressive how comfortable it was in there and how agile it was gliding through. And all the frogs quickly bouncing off to the sides. They didn't want any of it.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, but he was a decent size for a Devis as well.
Yeah.
Very good size. And they're not big snakes by any means.
Hmm. Yeah.
So that one was pretty good to photograph as well in comparison to some of the others you've had.
Yeah.
Yeah, oh yeah. Yeah, big time. Sometimes I just don't sit still, which is the case for most of those short, stubby snakes. I know things like curl snakes and are notorious for not sitting still as well.
Yeah.
But no, that one was a pleasure to photograph pretty much.
It's probably nice full belly.
Yeah. Yeah, probably just like I'm in a food coma. I don't want to move.
Yeah. But so was you kind of cruising around near the campsite then, or had you gone back road cruising to find them? Or
there's so yeah, we're just around the campsite. Just along tar roads. You can cruise on the dirt roads, but I just find it a little bit harder to spot things.
Yes.
Because you get those little imperfections in the road, and like all the shadows and stuff that they cast.
Yeah.
And just makes it like you still can spot things, but it just makes it a lot harder.
Yeah, you're kind of looking for more big things than little ones.
Yeah. So I think not long after that Devis banded snake, we come across our first red nape snake.
Yeah.
They're very, very common out there. I know they're few and far between in Sydney, but yeah, it was pretty cool. And I think it was Luke's first ever red nape snake, if I recall.
Yeah.
He'd had an orange nape before, but it was his first red nape.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So yeah, he was pretty excited about that, and
so was I. I'd only seen one in Sydney before, so to like find that again was pretty cool.
Yeah.
They're such beautiful little snakes, and
yeah.
These ones were so much thinner compared to the one that I saw in Sydney. So that was really interesting to see, because I'd say the length was pretty similar, but it was easily like half the girth. And then pretty much after we saw that one, it was only a couple 100 meters up the road that we would have got the second one.
Got the second one, yeah.
Which was really like quite a color different, like it was quite a difference in color. There's a lot more orange throughout the entire body, which was pretty cool.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. But Yeah, see, I've never seen a red nape snake, so that would have been pretty cool. But,
Yeah, they remind me of, like, they're just a long snake for how skinny they are. Their proportions are they're pretty funny. And they like most Furina species, they just love lifting their head up in the air.
yeah.
Kind of, it's a weird comparison, but kind of like how a jag carpet does that weird upside down head scope thing. They kind of do similar things to that. But
the second
they're
one
very,
especially, like, it really lifted its head a fair bit.
yeah, they're very, very pretty little snakes.
Yeah, and then you boys just keep road cruising from there on. You find much more after that, or?
Yeah, so
That
we
was
got
about it for snakes.
Yeah.
So that's when we started to get a few more of the different species of frogs.
Yeah.
So it was
and
it
a
was getting later at that point. So like we weren't expecting to see too many more snakes as it cooled down. It was the geckos. So we got the Datella.
Yep.
And then we got the tessellated gecko, which is pretty cool.
That's awesome, yeah.
Yep.
And you mentioned like the similarities, Kai, to the eastern stone geckos, and you could kind of see that in the shape and even the colour. It was just a slightly different kind of box pattern that went down the back of it, which I thought was pretty neat.
And then and we got spiny tails all through the night. Like, they're always one to stop for, just to break up the drive a little bit.
Yeah.
And every time even Simon and Luke were looking at it, I was always shining in the trees trying to spot one, like, not on the road for once.
Yeah.
So I've only ever seen them on the road. And we released one in a tree just so it was off the road.
Yeah, number 15. So this was right towards the end.
Yeah. And I, like, Simon asked me, he goes, "Oh, is it near the trunk of the tree already?" And I was like, no, it's at the end of the branch. And then Simon goes, "Oh, well, I just saw a glimpse of something move on the trunk."
Yeah.
So he quickly looked, and there was another eastern spiny-tailed gecko just sitting on the trunk of this tree. And I was pretty over the moon. I was like, finally I got to see one doing what they're doing.
Yeah.
And then instantly I started looking up and down the tree, and it was a good 3 meters high, I reckon.
Even higher.
And it was on one of the branches and like the end of the pine, because they're like a pine tree.
Yeah.
And right on the edge of the pine needles, I can just see the underbelly of another eastern spiny tail.
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. So you finally found two on the tree, essentially, not one.
Found two on the tree, two in one tree.
Yeah.
Yes.
You've gone
for all those
finding...
trees that we checked.
Yeah,
to finally get one and just doubled up straight away.
Yeah, on the same tree. It makes
sweet.
you wonder if, you'd been looking in trees previously and just completely missed them. But it's just the fact that, Simon caught that one move on the trunk, and then that made you stop and focus on the tree a little bit more.
Yes. Yeah.
Because if it was the same one, I was thinking that's a massive hustle to be able to get from where Kai released it all the way along and up. Like,
yeah, and then Kai, exactly. And then Kai not even notice it, like the leg it that far. But, yeah. Did you cruise much more after that, or was that kind of like the end of the night once you've kind of...
That was near the end, but I was stopping for frogs, and I was like, that's not a crucifix. And then I was like telling Luke and Simon, I was like, you'd know if you see one. Like,
yeah.
They just have that unmistakable shape. It looked like a golf ball on the road, like you'd know it. And finally I just drove past and I went, yep, that's a crucifix.
Yeah.
And we got out of the car, and sure enough, we got Simon's crucifix frog.
I was stoked. That was such a cool frog.
Yeah, they were.
They're just so bright, and like the colours that I've seen in photos don't actually do it justice at all for the colours you actually see on a frog.
Yeah.
Like when Kai said it's a fluoro golf ball, like he pretty much meant it. Like the green.
Are they about the same size as a golf ball as well? Like
pretty
the
similar.
same, yeah.
Maybe a little bit bigger.
Yeah, because I wasn't too sure how big they actually were. Like, you see the pictures, and a lot of people are up close, and you think, it's probably a little bit the size more of a, like, say, like a baseball or something, but...
Yeah. and their little squished face, like it's just such a stubby face.
Yeah.
And the one that we had was just jumping into stuff, and it's a weird little hop as well. It looks like a lot of effort for minimal distance gained.
Sounds like me.
I felt so sorry for these guys. They'd like, it would stop. They'd like focus their lens on it, and as soon as they'd go to hit the shutter, it'd just be like, boink, and off to a different area.
The joys.
Simon's got probably like 1,000 butt photos.
Oh, I've got a good series of them.
Yeah.
The joys of a manual focusing lens.
What lens are you using?
Oh, I was using a Nikon 60mm macro. But,
okay, yeah.
Yeah, but it was one of the manual focusing lenses.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've got a Samyang 100mm macro, so I'd like similar issues.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's always fun.
Yeah, so
it's
I
great
kind
when
of
you nail the shots, but when you're just slightly off, it's pretty frustrating.
Yeah, for sure.
And most of the animals that trip were sitting so nice for us, but that one, it's always the way when it's like you're targeting that one thing, that's going to be the one thing that doesn't want to sit for you.
Yeah, it's usually always the way.
Is why I was determined to get it.
Yeah.
And ironically, like, that was one of the last things we cruised, but at camp there was two more and they were much easier to photograph.
Yeah.
I spent however long lying on the dirt and the rocks and just so uncomfortable trying to get these frog photos with, like, the mozzies nailing us too.
Yeah.
And the ones at camp were easy.
It's always the
way. But like you said, you weren't sure if you're going to see any more, so you were trying to get...
Yeah, that's right.
I knew you had one.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I don't know how late it was at that point. Like, it was getting on.
Yeah.
And especially frogs like that, they're very seasonal. Like, you might go out there in 2 years' time and you won't find anything because they haven't had any rain.
Yeah.
So it's kind of, you got to make the most of them when you can see them.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's probably like the perfect season, really, with all the rain that we've had to kind of go up there and actually see them.
I mean, you look at the number of bugs as well. Like, it's no surprise the frogs are thriving up there.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think that was about it for that.
It's almost like a risk every time you got back in the car.
Oh, yeah.
Especially with Kai's lights on the front of it. Like, you get back to the car and Kai's high beams are still on it.
There's bugs everywhere.
Bugs everywhere, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, you don't leave the door open.
A tip for herping, you don't leave your interior lights on door, you just turn them all off.
Yeah.
So every time you open the door,
change your globes to orange globes.
Oh, okay, that's a good idea too.
Because the bugs aren't attracted to the orange globes. Might be a bit different inside your car. They have an orange globe. You can't see too much, but you won't have bugs in there. But, so that was pretty much it for that night. Anyway. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I think we got a desert tree frog as well, near where the crucifix was.
Oh, that was pretty cool.
And then it was just
that was cool because that was the first one that I've actually checked out.
I think it was 11 species of frogs that we got. I think maybe 12 if you count the parents we heard.
Yeah.
But like pretty good range of frogs.
Yeah, for sure. But I'm pretty sure you had an interesting trip, didn't you, Luke, when you got back to the tent that you were telling me about?
Oh, yeah. Oh. Yeah, that was scary. I thought it was a bit weird, to be honest. But, so these guys pretty much pulled into their swags and crashed out for the night. And I was like, I need to do a toilet run. Anyway, so I whacked the head torch on and I started walking towards the toilet block and got confronted by a couple of dogs, which were howling the house down and stuff. I think one of them was chained up and another one was kind of running around a bit loose, which I was a bit wary of. Anyway.
So it was actually wild dogs, were they?
No, I don't know. I reckon they were...
owned them or something.
I reckon the caretaker of the place owned them, but they just looked real scrappy. Like, they didn't look real well looked after.
I don't know. I remember the last time, or one of the times I was out there, they had a dog, and it was a very healthy dog. So I'm not too sure. They could have been wild dogs or just, forgotten ones. But Yeah, they didn't look too good.
Yeah.
I'm familiar enough with people.
The only thing that made me kind of think like, yeah. The only thing that made me kind of think like maybe they're a caretaker's one is like it looks like one was chained up at that house.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, okay, that's interesting. But anyway, one like this one that I had a particular interaction with was like a red heeler, cross something probably. But that gives you an idea of shape and whatever. Anyway, so did what I had to do at the toilet and went to leave the cubicle. The dog had me pinned inside the toilet block, and I was there growling at me, which was a bit gnarly. So anyway, I took off my belt ready for a punch on, and I'm ready to kind of climb back into the cubicle and see how long I'd stay for all night. But ended up getting back up to it. The thing followed me halfway back to the hammock. And that was kind of one of those moments where I was like, oh, I kind of wish I had my canvas swag out now. It might protect me a bit more than this dog chewing on my ass in the middle of the night. But, anyway, that was a bit sketchy, but got through it.
Yep.
What can you do? But
survived.
that was definitely the wrap-up of the night.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, we got the echidna at camp as well.
Till the next day. Oh, yeah. That was a massive one.
Yeah, it was a big echidna.
That was cool.
That's right.
Yeah, as far as other animals, like the other invasives we got throughout the trip, like quite a few goats, middle of the road. The first night we got a fairly young fox. There were hares the second night.
Yep.
I feel like there was other things we saw
Cats.
too. Yeah,
Cats,
actually there's a lot of cats we got on that second night. Or a
Kind of
flight.
just goes to show how serious that problem is.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, very serious, that one.
All the other crucifix frogs we could have found if they didn't nail them. And everything else.
Yeah.
So crucifix can actually expel like not a toxic, but like a very bad tasting fluid from their backs.
Yeah.
All the noted species can do it, I'm pretty sure. And yeah, it's not the best of stuff, and I dare say it wouldn't taste too good either.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Cool.
Yeah.
Be handy. And then you had an interesting trip home the next day.
Oh, yeah.
Even before that, like just waking up at camp, like the view over the lake was pretty cool, but packing up the swag, I lifted the corner of mine. Oh, there's a few frogs under here. Like, it's probably worth checking this out. I reckon I had 30 spotted marsh frogs.
Under your swag, wow.
Two of them I'd squished during the night, but the whole floor moved as soon as I lifted the swag up.
Wow.
And that, like...
That was incredible.
Yeah, that just shows how many there were. But yeah, the whole area under the swag was just moving.
Yeah.
Pretty neat.
That's crazy. Yeah, that's honestly insane. If you think about it, like to have that many frogs under your swag.
Yeah. And it's like pretty average size.
Kyle was sleeping right next to you, and he had nothing.
I had
like 6.
I had a few, but it wasn't as many as Simon.
Did you have different linings on the bottom of your swag, or were they both canvas linings, or was one like a neoprene, or not neoprene, but like a tarp lining?
No, I'm pretty sure they're pretty similar.
Yeah.
I'd say so, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's almost like they were trying to carry the yowie into the lake.
Didn't even peg that one down that night, so I could have shifted closer.
That's funny. Yeah, and then you had did you go herping again that morning, or did you kind of just jump in the car and get ready to go home?
We were planning to. There was one part of the road that was like pretty underwater. It wasn't terribly deep.
Yeah.
And we drove through it twice fine, and stupidly I was like, oh, it's shallow on this side. And I just sunk. I don't know. I wasn't thinking. I think 1:30 in the morning to herping nights, I didn't think straight, and that was an experience. Trying to get that out, and luckily, like the guys out there, like all the farmers out there, they're such helpful people. Like, when you're out in the country, everyone wants to help each other out, and
Which is good.
Luckily this truckie got us out, which was really good. I'm really grateful for that.
Yeah.
We're stuck for a good 20 minutes, I think.
Yeah.
Probably 30, I think, that one.
Probably, and some.
Yeah. But after that, we went to Bunnings so Luke can go get some sand. And then
While you're there.
yeah. And then after that we were trying to go look for some more goannas before he went home.
Yeah.
So we drove and it just chose a random dirt road along the Newell Highway. And we got about 3 Ks up it, and there was we're going up a hill. So to paint a bit of a picture, it was in the middle of a hill.
Yeah.
So you wouldn't think water runs down a hill, it wouldn't really catch there. And it was very dry, it was dusty on top.
Yeah.
So I was I thought everyone didn't even question, no one second guessed it. So I just tried to drive, drove normally, and sure enough, the whole thing just sunk, the whole car again, and I was far out. What am I doing?
Yeah.
And that was a bit more of an experience because we're 3 Ks into the Pilliga.
Yeah.
On some random dirt road. So we're trying everything, we're digging out underneath the tyres, putting rocks and sticks and
Yeah.
you name it underneath, and nothing was working. And luckily I had reception, and so I just, last resort, didn't know who to call, so I just called the local police station.
Yeah.
And grateful that they said, we'll help you guys out. And funny, when we're digging underneath the tyres, I actually dug out a ornate burrowing frog. So it still
wasn't
found
it
the
a
hurt.
water holding frog?
No, I think it was a ornate burrowing.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, but
But the
so
more
we
you
ended up.
dug and the more the tyres went, the more liquid just appeared.
Yeah,
Yeah.
When you're walking across it,
Yeah.
it was strange walking across because sometimes you just get a bit of a wobble, and then the next step you'd be shin deep, and
yeah,
you just didn't know which step it was going to be.
To take. Yeah.
Yeah,
yeah.
and it just varied depending on where you were. One time was good, the next time same spot you go down, and
Yeah.
Honestly, after we knew that help was coming, and it was actually pretty good. We were just chilling out in the middle of the Pilliga. It was it's a beautiful place, and we had emus check up on us.
That makes sure you're doing good.
Get out the camp chairs and sat there.
Yeah. I mean, and we were there for a good hour and a bit. I had my girlfriend, Amy, she was messaging me going, well, while you're waiting, what do you want for Christmas? Do you want a snatch strap? And I was just yeah, thanks.
Yes,
I was
please.
thanks. Yeah, I was thanks for that.
That's a good one.
Yeah. But, finally after a while, the cops come up the dirt road, and they were happy. They just told me that they were happy to get out of the office.
Yeah, right. Gives them something to do, kind of thing.
Yeah, and I think when they rocked up, they realised that I wasn't some idiot just driving through muddy puddles for the fun of it. It was proper a hidden bog hole pretty much, and they admitted that they probably would have drove through it as well. And after that as well, I found they winched me out. And after that it was all sweet. We were on the road. It was about 3:30 in the afternoon.
Yeah.
When we left.
even when they winched you out, it was pretty interesting to watch because it wasn't really that the tyres were grabbing; it was just sliding out on the bottom of the car until it hit that solid stuff. It was only 2.5 car lengths. It wasn't a big patch of that quicksand. So it's just and if we got another half meter, if there was enough momentum, we would have been fine through it. No worries.
Yeah, got straight through it. Yeah,
and so it was really tight, but it was pretty unpredictable. And even when the young cop was putting his winch up, he was just stomping his foot nearby. I'm I'll take a step further over, see how you go. No, I'm good. And then watching him actually have to walk through it, you could just see how unsteady some of his steps were in it, which is we'd been walking through it for the last hour and a half, 2 hours. We knew what was coming.
Yeah.
to watch him go through it was a bit of comedy at the end of the day, I reckon.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Especially with his shiny boots on.
Yeah, he's
Oh,
supposed to
yeah.
go back and clean them, yeah.
Didn't want that
And you
money at
basically
all.
just leg it home after that, or is that kind of, you know?
Yeah, that's pretty much it. Like, we just booked it home.
Yeah.
But when we did get pulled out of the first incident, we drove not far up the road and we stopped for another bearded dragon.
Yeah.
So we did find something that day. Yeah. But we just booked it home after that.
Yeah, that beardy was sitting so nice for me. Walked right up to it. As soon as I just got a hand on it, some car driving past with beeps. The thing just launched straight out of my arms. It was probably one of the better looking ones we'd seen the whole trip too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so we're keen to check that one out more and just lost that opportunity.
Yeah.
Just after Luke
Oh,
said I was the guy for getting beardies of the trip, then he jinxed it. Lasted 2 seconds before that one was gone.
and I got it all on film, which is all the sweeter, so I could talk with it for years.
Yeah.
That's one thing you just got to see it. You got to watch the video.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah.
But it really wasn't much else after that. I think
Yeah.
we might have passed another beardy that we didn't stop for because of the road. But yeah, the emus. So even though we're only on that 3K of dirt, when we were following the cops out, that's where we saw one emu with 6 chicks.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. That's
So
cool.
they weren't super fluffy. They pretty much got rid of that down. They just looked like
Yeah.
half-size versions of the big one.
Yeah.
That was pretty
That's
cool.
Awesome. Awesome. And it was just a long, arduous journey back home from out there.
Yeah. Which was a bit long. Like, I mean, I didn't get home till 11:30 that night, and
Yeah.
I pretty much had a well-earned shower and went to bed to go to work the next morning.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
That was a muddy day because of the boggings and stuff too. Like we
Yeah.
were
Especially
pretty
2
dirty.
as well. You know, one's kind of like, but 2
Yeah.
makes it that little bit worse.
Yes.
That
All
was
in.
kind of a bit heartbreaking when we sunk into the second one because that was just like, we've just been through this and now we're in a
Again.
way worse area to get help.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the first one, half an hour, I don't know how many, we would have had someone stopping to check up on us like every minute or two.
Yeah.
That was sweet. But 3 hours out at the other
Yeah.
place, and like we said, it was only the emu that checked up on us.
Yeah.
So it's a bit different story out there.
That's funny.
Yeah. But all in all, it was such a fun
an
trip.
Awesome trip. We ended up
Yeah.
seeing, got 52 reptiles,
Yeah.
hundreds of frogs,
Probably thousands.
loads of other
If
critters.
you count
and stuff
all the
that we
spotted
found
marsh frogs,
next
it'd be
to-
thousands.
True. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it was
Yeah,
good.
it was
And
fantastic. Like, first
So that was-
experience out there, I loved it.
Yeah. I think you got a bit of lag, Luke.
Yeah, definitely an area I'd love to go back to.
yeah, that's the thing. There's still so much for you guys to see. Like I said earlier, spotted black snakes. You have paleheads, Murray-Darling carpet pythons, Australian coral snakes, and even nearby you got Capital National Park, and you've still got quite a few endemic species and a few geckos that are different found there as well. And
Yeah.
there's just so much to explore out there, and yeah, I encourage people just to go out and see it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's such a beautiful country. That's one thing
Yeah.
I've got to do is start seeing the country a little bit more. So, anyway,
It's good to check out more of New South Wales as well. I haven't
Yeah,
really pushed it too far, other than kind of like Central Coast to the mountains to like Wollongong kind of area. I've kept
Yeah.
in that kind of region. So
yeah, yeah,
to head out west like that was, completely different environments. That the species overlap actually isn't that much. Like, we joke the first 2 snakes are in like an eastern brown and a bandy, which are the ones we get at home. But
yeah,
other than that, like, the frogs are pretty much all different. Geckos are different. Snakes are different. Like, it's
yeah.
yeah.
And that's what makes
pretty
it good. No, that's awesome. No, that sounds good. But I've been going for an hour and a half. That's kind of flown by. So
It has.
yeah, Luke sent me the outro, so I haven't done one before. So this will be pretty interesting to see. I'm just waiting to butcher it. But thanks for coming on, guys. That was awesome. So I got a couple of updates when you're out there. Luke sent me a couple of pictures of some geckos and stuff, and it's good to see.
Yeah,
I'm just keen to see the pictures roll in. So
we'll have to get you out there.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, no, definitely. That'd be a good spot. I'll go there and won't see anything. Me and Luke went for a little herp on Sunday night.
Oh, yeah.
As that big storm rolled through, I think we got a couple of frogs. That was it. But, yeah, anyway. All right, well, we might wrap it up, eh? What do you reckon?
Sounds good. No, it's great to chat about it. And fun stories to reminisce over. And
yeah, there's a few good ones from that trip. Like Luke was saying, I'm like, that's one of those trips that those stories you remember like the whole time. So,
yeah.
You know, you had got bogged and this and that, and Luke got chased by the dogs and stuff. So, pretty good.
I fit in a whole week's worth of stories in 2.5 days.
Exactly. Yeah, that's right. That's exactly right. So, anyway, well, I'll give this outro a bit of a go, eh? So, all right, we'd like to say thanks to Eric and Owen and the rest of the NPR crew for having us. If you'd like to contact them, it's best to find them at moreliapythonradio.com and email them at info@moreliapythonradio.com. Make sure to check out the NPR network on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. And as far as contacting us go, you can contact our social media platforms. You can email us at australianherpetoculture@gmail.com. You can also find us at Facebook and Instagram as well. Make sure to check out our Teespring store for podcast merch. The link's on the Facebook page. To see more of what I'm doing, make sure to follow me on Facebook and Instagram at The Gecko Effect. And to follow more of Luke, make sure you check him on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Patreon, and Teespring under Beach's Scaly Beast. We hope to have you back next week for another episode of the Australian Herpetoculture Podcast. Good night, guys.